Alrighty, and we are live, folks. How we all doing tonight? Real quick, let's take a look at the chat. We got a few people in the chat. Um, Ian McDonald says this is my strip music. Well, that's what it's good for. Syndicate Chief says I'd love to stay and listen, but I have to have work in the morning. Well, thankfully I'm on second shift, so I don't even know what an alarm clock is. Let's see. Somebody says, does anyone know the name of that song? I don't know what song was playing. Mars Alter says it was Ain't No Sunshine. Actually, that's a misnomer. It's actually Ain't No Sandwich when she's gone. A lot of people get that wrong, though. So he says, I was about ready to get to bed. Then I heard the music combined with the dank memes. Fuck sleep at this point. Well, that's what I like to hear. All right, so that's a quick look at the chat. And I guess we can get rid of the old starting soon because we're already started. I'll let the Maymays play though. Let the Maymays play. I hope you all enjoy those. So we got a few things to talk about, and by we I mean yes, the good captain may be joining me tonight. I'm having a little glass. I got my Spider-Man 2099 cup right here. It's one of those cups that comes with the cap and the straw, like, you know, that's washable and stuff like that. I love those. You know, you don't have to worry about them knocking over or spilling anything like that. So I got one of those. It's got Spider-Man 2099 on it, and I'm enjoying a nice tall glass of it's a little bit of Coke, peach flavored Coke, and some Captain Morgan. And no small amount of I told you so. And the dog's making a shitload of noise in the background. That's just lovely. Shut up, you beast. I have dominion over you. But anyways. Yeah, no small amount of I told you so. Two articles. I want to talk articles, I guess. Two stories, I guess, I want to talk about tonight. So we got a really interesting story over at the Mary Sue. And also, well, I guess, you know, I'm wanting to do all these theological debates. I guess I gotta look forward to planning a theological debate on, you know, whether or not the death penalty is ever permissible, because now all you Catholics believe that it's not. You know, because surely you're not going to defy your Holy Mother Church when she is, you know. I mean, we can't be having that, right? You can't just be having every man his own pope, right? You can't just be bound by scripture and natural law and your own conscience, can you? No, we can't have that, because soon they'll be dancing. Nope. You are bound by Holy Mother Church. So I look forward to having some of you trad Catholics. I don't know, maybe Anti-Dem wants to come on here and do it. Maybe Arini. I'm looking forward to having some of you trad Catholics come on here and debate with somebody on why the death penalty should not be allowed. So I look forward to that. We will be getting to that story. But first, let's go ahead and bring up an article from the Mary Sue. And I forgot to reinstall the fucking Windows capture, so I'm gonna have to do that real quick. Because every fucking time I gotta reinstall the damn thing. It's so I don't know why. I don't know if this is OBS's shit or if I'm just like a boomer with tech or something. I don't know why. But every single time I gotta reinstall the fucking Windows capture thing, otherwise it will no longer fucking read my browser. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna reinstall the Windows capture so that I can actually fucking look at my browser. Hang on a second. Sorry, folks. I know it's like, is it blank right now? Hang on. We're working on things here, folks. We're working on things. Oh, good Lord. Hang on. Here we go. Or maybe not. For fuck's sake. All right. We're gonna try again. I just love this new program. Actually, I should have just had this fucking done before I went live. This is my own stupid fault. So we're off the rails already, folks. We're off the rails already. Oh, for fuck's sake! Why won't you show? See, I swear it's like sometimes I gotta do the fucking thing. Yes, I know. I'm so terrible at things, folks. Give me a minute here. And we're gonna try one more time, or if not, I'm just gonna read the fucking article. All right. Okay, there we go. Boom. All right, I got Windows capture. All right. Okay, so. Now we got the Windows capture. Fun on the bun. So, we're going to bring up an article from the Mary Sue. The Mary Sue, that's when you know it's good. When you know it's good is when you're bringing up an article from the Mary Sue. Top quality journalism from the Mary Sewer. By the way, the Mary Sue originally was supposed to be like a geek media thing. It was supposed to be talking about like comic books and video and stuff like that. That's like long fucking gone. All right, I don't even think they bother with the pretense of pretending to be geek girls anymore. I don't even think they fucking bother with that. So I'll bring up the article here. This is a very fascinating article, I thought. Jeez, come on. So, by the way, I invited Davis to come on here and talk about what's going on with the Catholic Church. He did not wish to do that. So okay. All right. So here we go. We got the. Somebody in the chat says Charmander was the best starter though, so that we're gonna have to ban him. So, here we go, folks. Finding feminist submission. How I'm pushing back against non-consensual misogyny in BDSM by Elizabeth Colson. It's an old article. It's 2 years old. December 2016. Almost 2 years old. Editor's note, the author's name has been changed at her request to protect her privacy. Alrighty. I lead a double life, which isn't nearly as exciting as it sounds and doesn't come with a cool cape. Most people know me as a successful, professional, feminist woman with a strong voice that I'm not afraid to use to speak out against misogyny and gender inequality. What few people around me know is that I'm also I'm in a full-time submissive relationship with my dominant husband. Yep, my husband says and does the most misogynistic things imaginable to me, and I melt like a popsicle in the sun. Yeah, I fucking bet. The feminist submissive dichotomy is deeply weird, and it's taken me a long time to get comfortable with these two seemingly incongruent sides of myself. Fortunately, the pushback against misogyny women have enjoyed under President Obama's administration has gone a long way towards helping me realize that enjoying freedom of choice also extends to the most private parts of my life. The dominant submissive dynamic is pretty typical by most standards in the DNS community. My dominant submissive dynamic. Pretty typical by most standards in the D/S community. First and most importantly, it's consensual. My husband and I have logged hundreds of hours of conversation on how to structure our dynamic. Wow, that's fucking borderline autistic. I mean, don't get me wrong, communication's a must if you're going to dabble in those black arts, but I have logged hundreds of hours of conversation on how to structure our dynamic, what we each hope to get out of it, how to make sure everything we do is physically and psychologically safe. Why, just have a fucking safe word. And how to clearly communicate with each other. Leave it to a feminist to make things more needlessly complicated. A fucking safe word. There you go. Boom. You know? It ain't complicated. We talk on the regular about our dynamic, and I have complete autonomy to discuss anything I need to address. While my husband holds the power and authority in our relationship, he doesn't want a submissive who won't engage their critical thinking skills to enthusiastically consent to what we do or speak up when they have concerns. Our daily life is pretty much like other couples. We have laundry, bills, grocery shopping, family responsibilities, and a myriad of other things adults deal with every day. The main difference between us and non-D/S household is my husband is the ultimate authority in the home, and I defer to him when there's a decision to be made. That also used to just be how the fucking home was. That's not to say he micromanages me. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I run our home and make decisions on how that happens all day long. I'm responsible for making his lunches, doing our laundry, cooking dinners, and a million other things that gives us the freedom to be together at the end of the day and enjoy the fruits of our D/S dynamic. By the way, that stands for dominant/submissive for those of you not... those of you a little bit more innocent than me. I make sure his coffee and drinks are always filled, shine his shoes and boots, and do whatever else he asks of me. D/S has its place in our physical relationships as well, as we regularly participate in BDSM activities. That leaves me black and blue under my clothes for days. I bet it does. Man, this is the sexiest thing the Mary Sue's ever fucking published. Not that that's a high bar. On the other side of the coin, my husband decides what and when I shave, chooses the color of my nail polish, selects dinner from a menu of choices I gives him. It's a little bit of the captain speaking up there, folks. Orders my food for me for when we go out, and pretty much whatever strikes his fancy to do or make me do at any given time. People unfamiliar with D/S dynamics may view our arrangement as misogynistic or downright abusive. I think it's unbelievably fulfilling, I bet you do, and so hot. Well, like the fire of 1,000 suns hot. Remember, all of this is consensual, and that steers what we do into alignment with feminism. Oh, today has been the day of 1,000 laughs, my friends. Holy shit, dude. All right. My submissiveness and feminism were at odds with each other for many years. How could I be a real feminist if I willingly let my husband order me around, flog me, tell me what a good submissive I am, and make me prepare dinner in heels and an apron if he feels like it? This guy's a fucking pimp. I mean, that's the antithesis of what women's rights activists fight for. But see, it isn't. Of course it isn't. That's why they want to let all the Muslims in. Feminism hinges on freedom of choice. Some women prefer to wear makeup, and some don't. Neither situation is wrong as long as women have the freedom to choose her preferences and isn't held back by societal expectations to conform to conventional beauty. Likewise, deciding to be unconditionally submissive to her partner doesn't diminish a woman's feminist values. It's all about the freedom to live the life we choose for ourselves, one of the primary goals of feminism. All right, we're gonna have to pull out the safe word and take a time out here, sweetie, because no, it's not. At least not modern third wave feminism. You could argue that about, like, say, second wave feminism. Oh, we just want women to be able to choose what they want to be, blah, 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 blah. However, and I don't have the clip in front of me, and I'm not going to bother trying to look it up. Or fuck it, maybe I will. There's a clip where Anita Sarkeesian specifically says that that feminism isn't about a woman's personal choice, because your personal choice affects all these other women. Something along those fucking lines. I don't know. So let me go ahead and see if I can cue that up, because it just came to mind. So I don't have it in front of me. because I'm just really bad at what I do. But you should all be sending me super chats anyways, because, you know, whatever. Just cough up that money, pay-piggies. Anita Sarkeesianism. Anita Sarkeesian choice feminism? Maybe that's it. Let's see. This might be it. We might just listen to the audio. Holy shit, that's loud. Alright, so this is how to be a feminist. Oh, wait, no, you guys can't hear this. Shit. I've been sitting here. You can't fucking hear this. Hang on a second. I'm sorry. I wasn't sharing the audio. I'm retarded. Hang on. Let me go ahead and share the audio. Let's go ahead and try this again.
So, like most people who grew up immersed in the neoliberal ideology of the West, I saw the world largely as a series of individuals making their own personal individual choices. And here I was, a young woman making my own personal choices about what to wear, what to buy, what to study, and what I wanted to do every day. Within that narrow individualistic framework, feminism seemed like a relic of the distant past. Back then, I thought sexism basically boiled down to a few bad apples with misguided personal beliefs born out of ignorance or overt hatred. So it wasn't until I was in my early to mid-20s that I began to realize my impression of feminism had been completely wrong. With the help of some amazing mentors and by reading a lot of feminist writing, especially the words of women of color and queer women from around the world, I learned to see through a sociological lens and understand the world as it really exists, as a series of intersecting social systems. Once you have a systemic and institutional framework, you see how oppression manifests in many subtle ways under the systems of what Bell Hooks calls white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. So not only did I have to learn how to be a feminist, I also had to learn how to be a feminist who understands systems. I had to learn how systems of oppression are maintained by our participation in them, but they're also self-perpetuating via paths of least resistance, and as such, are larger than any one person's choices. Okay, so this is the part where I say things that may ruffle some feathers, but I think it's a critical discussion to have. So over the past few years, I've become increasingly worried about the direction mainstream internet feminism appears to be headed, at least in the West. Unfortunately, many contemporary discourses in and around feminism tend to emphasize a form of hyper-individualism, which is informed by that neoliberal worldview. More and more, I hear variations on this idea that anything that any woman personally chooses to do is a feminist act. This attitude is often referred to as choice feminism. Choice feminism posits that each individual woman determines what is empowering for herself, which might sound good on the surface, but this concept risks obscuring the bigger picture and larger fundamental goals of the movement by focusing on individual women with a very narrow individual notion of empowerment. It erases the reality that some choices that women make have an enormous negative impact on other women's lives. So it's not enough to feel personally empowered or be personally successful within the oppressive framework of the current system. Even if an individual woman can make patriarchy work for her, it's still a losing game for the rest of the women on the planet. The fact of the matter is that some choices have ramifications beyond ourselves and reinforce harmful patriarchal ideas about women as a group and about women's bodies in our wider shared culture. And because of how systems of oppression intersect and compound one another, it's women of color, indigenous women, women living in the global south, women with disabilities, queer women, and trans women who bear the brunt of these ramifications.
Okay, that's enough. You all get the point. Okay. Sorry for the tangent there. I really wanted to bring that up. So, no. Now you can be like, well, that's just Anita saying that. She doesn't define feminism. No, she speaks for what third wave feminism is. All right. She is third wave feminism congealed into a physical form. So, no, sweetie, you being you being your husband's little fuck slave is not feminism. At least not the modern version. I'm sorry, sweetie, it doesn't work that way. Because interlocking systems and indigenous trans women of color in the global south and other horseshit like that. So, no, it doesn't fly. All right? But anyways, let's get back to this article. So we're going to get back onto this article here, and boom, we'll read the rest of it. But no, it is contradictory to what modern feminism is. People will debate until the end of time what makes a person become interested in BDSM or D/S dynamics, but the bottom line is that those interests do exist. It's wonderfully liberating to safely tap into the darker side of myself and build my self-confidence as a secure feminist woman, indulging my submissiveness allows me to learn where my limits are and explore new experiences. Women don't unilaterally have that option in our daily lives, since we're often expected to satisfy expectations of what society tells us we should want, like, and do. I don't feel subjugated or repressed as a submissive. I feel empowered. I'm not going to lie, being a submissive isn't always a picnic. I've been involved in BDSM and D/S for longer than I've been with my husband, and have experienced all manner of interactions, dynamics, and relations with people in the kink community. They run the gambit from those who understand you can be both a submissive and a feminist to people who see submissives as easy prey. As with any group that gathers around a common set of interests, there are always outliers with agendas that aren't altogether congruent with the larger community. Blah. Oh man, this is getting boring. Talk more about you making dinner in heels and aprons, sweetie. This is kind of boring. FetLife, a popular community website with the D/S and BDSM crowd, is filled with stories from women who encounter these kind of people. Yeah, okay, whatever. Until recently, we're skipping ahead, folks. Until recently, most misogyny in the scene was kept mostly in check because of society standards of acceptable behavior tend to also seep into what's acceptable within the kink community. But now that we've elected a misogynist man to lead our country, misogyny is becoming normalized once again, both in society at large and the kink community. Our grabby president-elect, remember this 2 years ago, has emboldened men who are already inclined to harass women, and we've seen an uptick in the same behavior within the BDSM community. Alright, this is kind of boring now. Hey, okay, sweetie, that's fucking lovely. We're going to go ahead and close that for a bit here. No, sweetie, your submissiveness is not in line with modern third wave feminism. It's just not. And truth be told, that's probably why it turns you on so much. Being someone who's dabbled in those black arts, I understand it a little better than some of you who aren't quite as who are a bit more innocent than me. And one of the intoxicating things for a submissive is to lose yourself, to be subjugated, to be conquered, essentially. And I I can see how the idea of it being in a way that's basically contradictory to your political beliefs would probably just make it more sexy, more forbidden. Um, so no, it's not in line with it. It's a whole bunch of double to speak. And also, remember the Mary Sue was originally supposed to be like geek girls talking about comic books and Vidya and shit like that. And not even pretending anymore. It's like, watch this, watch this chick rationalize her fucking BDSM and feminism. So I thought that was quite funny. Um, John Steele in the chat says there's nothing quite like having a hot naked feminist on her knees, mouth open, looking up and awaiting orders. I imagine there's not. I imagine there's not. So we're gonna move on to the big story of the day. Let's let me find the article here. I know I'm terribly unprepared. Okay. You know, the good captain is a terrible co-host. He just does not have his shit together as a co-host. Here we go. Vatican News. VNN. We're at the VNN. Vatican News Network. Let's go ahead and bring this up on the old screen share. So. Pope Francis, death penalty, inadmissible. After an audience with Pope Francis earlier this year and following his approval, the Vatican's CDF, I don't know what that is, has made changes to the CCC. I believe that's the Catholic Church. What is it called? Oh man, I'm just blanking on the name. The second Bible they have. Their little, I don't know, Constitution, Supreme Law, the Catechism. Catechism. I guess that's what the CCC is. On the death penalty, according to which capital punishment is inadmissible. Pope Francis has approved a new revision to paragraph number 2267 of the Catechism of the Catholic Church, according to which a new understanding has emerged of the significance of penal sanctions imposed by the state. Thus, quote, the death penalty is inadmissible. The decision was announced by the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith in a letter to the bishops. The new text. Okay, so let's go to the old text. So now the new text is the death penalty is inadmissible. And before, I want to get the wording right, because before it was like damn near inadmissible. Before it read, assuming the guilty party's identity and responsibility has been fully determined, the traditional teaching of the Catholic Church does not exclude recourse to the death penalty if this is the only possible way of effectively defending human lives against the unjust aggressor. However, if non-lethal means are sufficient to defend and protect people's safety from the aggressor, authority will limit itself to such means as these are more in keeping with the concrete conditions of the common good and more in conformity to the dignity of the human person. So that was the old view. The old official dogma of the Catholic Church with their bullshit second Bible, the Catechism. And that was faggy enough. Okay, that was faggy enough. We're going to go ahead and close screen share for a bit here. Enjoy those dank memes, people. That was faggy enough. Because that was basically already an almost complete ban. Because here's the thing. It basically said, if you can lock the person away for life, then do that. Well, of course you can do that. This isn't Gotham City. People don't just break out of fucking prison all the time. Of course, okay? Of course that's an option. All right? So, it was already basically a fucking ban. Now it's an outright ban. It's completely inadmissible. Which is unbiblical. I don't have the fucking text in front of me. There's numerous places in the Bible where it says the death penalty is admissible. Not that that means shit to the Catholic Church, but whatever. Um, but it's just it like there's things people do, and it's like you got to go. All right, you got to go. So I'm for the death penalty. I'm absolutely fine with it. I will say it was kind of in line with the Catholic Church's autistic fucking pro-life views, um, which is part of why they had the pro-death penalty thing or the anti-death penalty position. And a lot of Catholics have been anti-death penalty. I mean, it's at least to the last 100 years or so. Um, so yeah. Now Davis had an interesting argument, which I think is I listened to Davis's stream on it today, and I listened to it in chunks because I was at the day job, so I listened to like 10 minutes on one break, 10 minutes on another break, and then the end of it on the way home. And he was talking about how like it's against the dignity, it's against the dignity of life to just let somebody rot in prison. It's better to just kill them, which I don't disagree with, but I would say that a lot of Catholics and a lot of faggy Protestants, they're not concerned with the dignity of life. They're all about the, how do they put it, the sanctity of life, the preservation of life. That's why so many of my fellow Christians are against the idea of pulling the plug. When somebody's dying all slowly and painfully in their fucking deathbed, like, no, don't put them out of their misery, which is, I think, monstrous. I think it's a monstrous view. I think it's disgusting. But yeah, I'm a little curious as to how you can be, all about die with dignity, but you're anti fucking euthanasia. So I guess I wanted to have Davis on here because I have so many questions, and he doesn't want to talk about it. Basically, he doesn't want me like picking on him. Is what it boils down to. He doesn't want to fight with me about that kind of thing, which is a shame because, like I said, I have so many questions. Okay, because Davis at the end of his stream basically was like, "This is wrong, and I'm going to ask my priest if I could still be a member in good standing of the church and think this is wrong. If not, I'm going to leave." Okay, fine. But see, that's the thing, Davis. I thought that you had to submit to the church's authority in their teaching. Otherwise, we can't just everybody do their own thing, right? That's what I kept hearing. Protestantism results in every man his own pope and all this other horse shit. And to be honest, I hope that the priest. Here's the thing. I suspect that Davis's priest is going to be like, no. You can think what you want. Just sit down and put your money in the plate because they don't want to lose people. I think that that's what's going to happen. If Davis actually has an intellectually honest enough priest that says, no, this is what the church teaches now, accept it or get out, that would be tremendous for Davis. That would be very good for him. And frankly, I pray that's what happens. You can take off your spiritual. I know that Davis, being the very rules-oriented, structure-oriented guy that he is, he needed the Catholic Church, to come to faith. He needed all that ridiculous fucking structure. But it's okay now, Davis. You could probably take your spiritual training wheels off. It's okay. In fact, there was a comment I saw on Davis's one stream, and I think it was the Sunday stream, where the guy said, like, say what you will about the Protestants, but they're free. The Catholic Protestant. I don't have it in front of me. I might look it up here, but he said the Catholic Protestant view was like the English looking at I guess what do you put it, the Welsh or something like that. It was like, some barbarian group or whatever. I don't fucking know. But looking at them and being like, look at those backward savages, but they're free. And that's what it boils down to. Like, like, come on over here, Davis. Come on, enjoy the freedom in Christ, okay? You know, enjoy the freedom in Christ where you don't have to give a fuck what some commie pedo in fucking Italy says. It's fantastic, you know? Like, I don't have to sweat this shit at all, okay? Because I just have a moral obligation to follow the scripture, not some other book that can apparently be amended by a fucking communist in Italy. Apparently at any point. Because this is the catechism now, guys. This is the fucking catechism now. Alright? This is the teaching of your Holy Mother Church. Of the one true church. This is the teachings of it now. So, you know, what are y'all going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? I don't think y'all are going to do shit. Davis is probably going to actually leave. Assuming his priest doesn't feed him some horse shit about how you can stay anyways. And Davis just accepts that. Which hopefully doesn't happen. I hope he just fucking leaves. But yeah, I mean, come on here, anti-dem, and tell me how the death penalty is wrong and has to go away, because that's what your church teaches now, and the church is the authority, right? Not you know, the scripture, not natural law, not common sense, none of that. No, it's the church. Church is the authority, right? Well, the church just said some shit to you. What are you gonna do about it? You know, how am I wrong? How am I wrong here? Yeah. I think this shit's funny as hell. I knew something like this was going to happen. I knew Francis was going to pull some shit like this. I thought it was going to be something that Catholics could more easily rationalize, which, like some horseshit about how global warming is real, so saith the Catholic Church or something, and then, you know, whatever. But no, this is an actual moral shit that they can't ignore. They can't ignore. They can't hide behind, well, he didn't, you know, it's just a political opinion. It's not actually a moral they can't, I'd love to see you, see the mental gymnastics here, because I don't see how you're going to fucking do it. This is shit or get off the pot time, guys. You need to either get your ass in line with, okay, you're anti-death penalty now, or you need to admit that the Catholic Church is full of shit. And you know, I'll be interested to see what you do. I will be very interested to see what you do. All right, so I guess you know what? I guess I'll take callers. Anybody want to call in? I think John Steele said he wanted to call in. So I'm gonna call John Steele. I'm gonna go ahead and give you a call here. You can call into the show. Boom. Hey, John, you're live. What's on your mind? I know you wanted to call in.
1 second. Can I just give me a split second to turn off the other?
Oh, sure.
chat?
Go ahead.
Okay, how's that? How am I coming through now?
You sound fine. What's on your mind?
All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, your volume. Anyway, never mind that. I think that Davis did raise a good point about the. At some point, it does become everyone becoming his own pope, and I think. I mean, I get your point about, you know, the Pope being I don't disagree. You know, I'm not here to defend the Catholic Church. I'm not a member of it, but there is a point where everybody does become their own pope, and I think he pointed out some of the problems that, you know, I said this, that every major Western church, every major organization of Western church, every sort of umbrella group, whether it's the Southern Baptist congregation or like you're a congregational church, but they're a quasi member of some umbrella group, correct?
Oh, the church I'm at now is not. It's
oh, really?
They have no. It's like 3 churches in this county are connected to each other, but they have no broader affiliation beyond that.
Okay, well that is the minority of Protestant churches in the West. They usually have some sort of affiliation. They have, even if they're not really beholden to it with the same strictness that the Catholics do. And all of those are corrupt. I mean, you look, and they're the one. I mean, at least the Catholics, at least you still have to be a man to be an effing priest, even if you're a fag.
For now.
But you know what I mean, buddy. I mean, come on. So you're a little. It seems like there's a little bit of Schadenfreude going on with you and how you believe Davis performed in the most recent debate. It seems like you're just enjoying it a little too much, and I don't think. Well, turn on you. I don't think it's a very Christian thing to do. Davis is a good guy, and he's a friend of yours.
Oh, I like Davis. I'm not going after Davis specifically.
Well,
I'm going after. I'm going after Catholicism in general. Well, yeah, I liked it.
I'm sorry.
I like Davis, and I think he did great in the debate. To be honest with you, I think he held his own quite great. I mean, Pastor Tom's a professional; he does that for a living. So I think Davis did tremendous in the debate. I was happy to have him on. To the extent I guess I was really poking at him was on the Sunday stream when I was again, I could be misrepresenting him, but where it sounded like his plan to reform the Catholic Church was, I'm going to bitch about it while continuing to give them money. And my contention was, that's a shockingly bad plan.
Right, but isn't that true of... All right, let's put it back on you then. Let's say your church comes up with a theological decision or something that you disagree with. Are you just going to keep going around church shopping then? I mean, what are you to do?
It depends on the severity of it, I suppose. But if I was at a point where I was putting money in the collection plate and I had to seriously question the validity of where that money was going, for instance, if I was hearing news reports of that money quite possibly might be going to AIDS medicine for my pastor, I would leave and go find another church if I could not even trust them with a tithe.
Okay, and you've used that example a lot, and I know that, I'm sure there are Protestant pastors with AIDS as well who are, some of that money in the collection pot. I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm guessing they're not the only deviant. You don't, just because you're a Catholic doesn't mean you're the only people who, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So my point is that let's say let's say your church, your congregational church you're at now, let's say they decided to have female priestesses. Would you leave? Would you walk away?
With that, yes.
Okay, you would. All right. And then my point is it's kind of like at some point you people are just leaving instead of fighting to change it. I guess that's kind of the frustration.
Well, okay, I'll give you this much, because I actually don't know. I haven't been in there long enough that some sort of dispute has popped up, and I haven't really looked into a lot of the church discipline and structure kind of things, just their basic beliefs. But I don't know whether they do votes and stuff on a lot of things. I know a lot of conservative Protestant churches, certain issues, the elder board votes on it, certain broader issues, all the members vote on it, that sort of thing. So, I mean, I would have a voice in that church that Davis doesn't have in his, I would argue. There is a sharp divide between the clergy and the lay people in the Catholic Church. Davis doesn't get a vote. He doesn't have any systematic recourse for changing his church from the inside. I would, and I would do that first. I would say that I would try and go through proper channels first. I do regret that I didn't do enough of that when I left the previous church. I don't believe the outcome would have been any different, but still, that was on me, and I regret that. So yeah, I wouldn't maybe just immediately leave. I might, be like, hey, what are we doing here? And then if everyone, if I was outvoted or, whatever, if it turns out, no, this is where we're going, I'd be like, okay, well, I can't follow you in that direction. See you, bye. And I think there's a stark difference in the Catholic. Davis doesn't get a vote. He does. That's what I was asking him, and I wasn't. I don't feel I was getting an answer. What are you going to do about it?
Well, I think one of the positives, I agree, you're right. There is a little bit of difference in these congregational churches because I knew they do have like board of elders and stuff. And I remember Pastor Tom kind of explaining how that hierarchy worked within his specific church. But they were all different. Like yours is a little bit different from his because I believe his is kind of under some sort of umbrella group, even though they get to do their own thing more or less. But the thing about the Catholic Church is, you say, well, you want to vote, but if it's a vote, then can it just kind of turn into like a mob rule kind of a thing?
Oh, like, certainly it could. I think, again, if I was going to structure a church, I think I'd sort of have, diffuse the democratic elements, but I think I would leave some democratic elements to it. Again, 90% of the decisions I would leave up to, the board of elders, for example. Maybe certain decisions have to be a 60% majority. Again, there's all sorts of ways you can structure it. I just, and you could argue that maybe it's for the better that there are no democratic elements. Fine, that's an argument one can have. My point with Davis was, though, again, I wasn't getting, what are you going to do about it? Was my point. Like, you don't have any recourse. At the end of the day, the priest can look you in the eye and say, like, for example, Davis was like, which, by the way, I found really funny, and I asked him this actually on Facebook today, and I didn't get a response in Messenger. I said, Davis, you used the example of, the priest in Canada should refuse to give Justin Trudeau communion because he differs from the church in things like abortion and homosexuality. I said, well, then I guess they should refuse to give you communion because you now differ from them on the death penalty, right? Which I didn't actually get a response from him on that one. But he used that as an example and said, like, I'm going to go up to that priest and I'm going to say, how dare you give Justin Trudeau communion because he is all about this, that, or the other thing. And when the priest looks at you and says, well, I figured it was okay, and I'm the priest, you can suck a dick, sit down and shut up, what are you going to do about it?
Well, you're right. I mean, I think we've established that the Catholic Church doesn't have a specific mechanism for the individual parishioner to, say...
I would say the only vote Davis ultimately has is his decision to stay and his decision to keep funding this organization. That is the only vote he has. And my point was that you're sitting here getting fired up about how you're going to change things while at the same time saying, I also refuse to use the only speck of leverage I have. So my point was, well, that sounds like a pretty damn bad plan.
Well, how would you feel about it if Davis just, continued to go to the Catholic Mass and receive the sacraments, but just didn't put money in the basket?
That would probably be. See, again, it's hard for me to say because I can't imagine wanting to go to a church that I couldn't trust with a tithe. So on one level, it's kind of hard to put myself in a position where I'd have to make that choice, but I would say it would probably be, I guess, better if he did that. Now, I mean, I think a Christian still has a certain responsibility to tithe. There's been times when I haven't really had a church home and I've set money aside and I've just sort of, prayed about it and said, Lord, this is your money. You show me what you want me to do with it. And I've ended up, like, say, writing a check to a ministry or something along those lines with it. So that you're still giving your offering, you're just redirecting it to another source. I suppose he could do that. Again, though, aside from the few times I haven't really had a church home, I really can't imagine, I wouldn't be in a position where I would be attending a church and feel comfortable having my name attached to a church that I wouldn't be able to trust with my offering. So it's hard for me to say. That said, though, I guess it would be a form of trying to change things from within. You know, you starve it. I know, as he said, my few bucks each week isn't going to make a difference. Well, it is a vote that you have. So I don't know. I guess that would be, it would be a way to change things. It would be a way to affect things. But my point is, he's not gonna. I don't think he was gonna do that. He was gonna just keep showing up every week, keep giving them money, and then expecting. I don't understand how he expected things to change.
Well, it seems like your only answer, though, is for all Catholics just to leave the church. I mean, is that what you want?
Well, I mean, ideally, yes, because I think the Catholic Church is wrong on numerous things. Ideally, I would prefer that they abandon the Catholic Church. My point, though, is if you say, well, I'm not going to leave, I'm not going to stop giving my tithe, then never mind what I think you should do. I'm asking the question, okay, well, what exactly are you going to do then? What exactly, I'm going to change, you're complaining about how the Catholic Church is. This is just the trad Catholics in general, not just Davis. You're complaining about how the church is, but you're still going to continue to support it. You're still going to continue to fund it. So if you're never going to leave and you're never going to stop giving your tithe and you're complaining about how things are, then I guess my question that I'm not getting an answer to is, the fuck you going to do about it?
Well, I can't speak to this because I don't know a lot of trad Catholics, personally. That's not really my circles I travel in. But I'm guessing there's probably some brilliant writers that are trad Catholics that write, have blogs and probably, live streams and stuff like that. And they probably reach audiences, and those audiences, grow in number. And I'm just, well, no.
Again, it's an audience. It's an ever-growing audience of people, none of whom are going to use the one bit of leverage they have, unless they're reaching clergy. Because again, there's that sharp divide between clergy and lay. Unless they're changing the hearts and minds of clergy, there's not a damn thing they're doing. Because they could change the hearts and minds of every single lay person in the world. And if every single lay Catholic in the world disagreed with what the church was doing, but was still going to their dying day continue to support and fund it, that wouldn't make a lick of damn difference.
Well, no, I agree, but I think you're overemphasizing this distinction between lay people and the church hierarchy. The people in the hierarchy, the priests, the bishops, the archbishops, the cardinals, they're human beings too. A lot of them are, have traditional leanings as well already.
Yes, a lot of them do, but they're the only ones.
So it's not like
they're the only ones with a voice. So I mean, if Davis's plan was, I'm going to try and change the hearts and minds of priests and bishops and whatever that aren't traditional leaning to get them to be traditional leaning, I guess that would be a plan. I don't know how successful that would be, but it would be something. But again, it seemed like Davis's plan was, I'm going to bitch about things and I'm going to continue to fund and support it. And I couldn't help but notice that didn't seem like a very good plan. And you could be like, well, what do you want them to do? And more like, well, my question is, what are you going to do about it?
Right. Well, here's my theory about why Davis is not going to leave the church. I think that, and he's raised this several times in the two debates I've listened to him in, or just what are you going discussions with, is Davis understands the value of tradition. And I think that you undervalue it. Not that you don't value it. I think that you undervalue it. And that's something that he will not give up on.
I probably do undervalue it, if I'm being honest with you, because I see a lot of people, I would say, make an idol out of it, and yeah, I maybe correct steer too much in the opposite direction. Yeah.
All right, well, that's, like I said, man, I'm not here to defend Catholicism. I just thought I would.
Oh no, it's fine. This is entertaining. Like I don't mind the bants. People Like, you know, I want more. I'm trying to get more of it on here. I don't mind the bands.
Well, I mean, just as this is what I said, like just at the end of Pastor Tom's stream with Luke tonight. I think that there are bigger problems. All right, here's my thing. All right, that psycho bitch that you were just reading in the beginning, Mary Sue. I think that, you know, maybe we should concern ourselves more with sick shit like that permeating society, or just the average stuff we see on TV and just plastered all over society, than worrying about an update to the Catholic Catechism.
Well, the two things I would say to that is, number one, this is just for better or worse, is, you know, when you get people that agree on 90% of stuff, they're going to fight much more viciously over that remaining 10. That's just the nature of the beast. That's just I've seen it myself. I've seen it across the board. It just happens that way. Whether or not it should, we don't live in should land. So that's just how it's going to be. And I don't know, like myself personally, and I'm not saying that this is how it should be or anything. I'm just speaking to myself here. I like dragging up the Mary Sue people to laugh at them once in a while, but it's like I don't feel like talking about it that much. And
well, burns you out, yeah. Like when you used to do that retard sex shit, I wish you would stop that like 2 episodes before you finally did.
So it's like, you know, I'm very interested in discussing these theological differences that I know to people outside of Christianity as a whole seem like minor things that we're fighting over. And I get that. I get that to non-Christians, this can seem very much like the black and white aliens from Star Trek fighting with each other.
Yeah, a little bit.
I get that. I get that. Don't get me wrong. I understand that it can appear that way. Believe me, I think it. I feel the same way when I see Orthodox and Catholics fighting with each other. Because from a Protestant standpoint, I'm like, y'all motherfuckers the same. Like, so I get that. Okay, I totally understand that. That said, though, it's just something I'm really enjoying focusing on right now. It's just the nature of this show, because I'm bad at what I do and I'm completely unprofessional, is that I'm gonna autistically obsess over some shit for a while until I move on. That's just how this show rolls.
All right, fair enough. But I mean, just the thing is about like people's like you both. The thing about it is when you're criticizing someone's their faith. I mean, it's more important than their political beliefs. And when it's a friend of yours, when you're attacking their faith on such a deep level like that, you're actually attacking who they are as a person. And I just think you should be aware of that. You know, as a Christian, maybe pray on it. You know, meditate on it, whatever. And you know, maybe temper that with, you know, it's just my 2 cents, man, for whatever. You know.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you bringing that to me, and maybe I should. I understand that I take things a little less personally than other people. I don't think Davis does. I don't view Davis as somebody that's very thin-skinned, but he's obviously very upset today. So
well, he's not thin-skinned except when it comes to his religious. You make fun of Davis about almost anything. He doesn't give a fuck. But that's something that he doesn't mess around with. He takes his faith very, very seriously.
I understand that, and like I said, I'll take I will take that advice. Believe me. I'm sorry. Like I said, there's a bit of the bit of the captain co-hosting tonight. So let me. I will take that to heart. What you said. You know, I can be a dick, and I hope I'm not being a dick to friends too much. And obviously, the nature of this being a show, you know, you got to crank the dial up to 11 a little bit to entertain people. So you know, and I hope I haven't you know, offended Davis in any personal way.
All right, well that's all I had to say. I'm gonna enjoy the rest of the stream offline. I'll just do it. That's all my 2 cents. Great show, and
oh sure,
you know,
appreciate you calling in.
So you take care, and everybody else listening, you have a good night. Yep. I'll keep listening though.
All right. If anybody else wants to call in, you can message me on the Skypes. Hopefully, I'll see it, because the current this new Skype thing, the new version of Skype that I was forced to fucking download because the other one wasn't even going to be supported here soon. It sucks. It sucks ass. So hopefully I'll see it if you message me. Somebody in the chat says you should get Davis and Jay Dyer in a debate. Yeah, I'd love to. That'd be fine. Let's see. The problem of the Catholic Church is the clergy and pastoral approach. The dogma never changes and is sound. Well, wasn't the dogma just changed today? Isn't the Catechism of the Catholic Church the dog? I mean, first of all, there's other times the dogma has, if you're going to be generous, evolved in the Catholic Church. But yeah, wasn't the dogma just changed today? Let's see. How long we've been going on? About an hour. I might wrap this up here soon. So what else did I want to talk about? Is there anything else I want to talk about today? I don't really think so. Yeah, probably might wrap this up then. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, somebody mentioned in the Discord, they're like, so if the Catholic Church is against the death penalty, can we give them shit for killing all those dissidents throughout the years? Let's see. All right. I guess I might wrap this up. Let's see. Yeah, I guess I'll wrap this up. Folks, if you enjoy the show, you enjoy the content I put out, do consider checking out the tip jar down below, where you can send a one-time donation of any amount to the PayPal. You can support the Patreon. That's a big help. And you can also check out the wish list, the Amazon wish list, where you can give me some of the dumb shit I like, including new equipment for the show. I'm thinking of breaking down and getting a Steam account. If I'm gonna be playing games on here for y'all, that's probably just the best fucking way. And I was actually thinking today of playing Oddworld. I don't know if you ever. I was talking today. If y'all haven't ever played the first, I've only played the first Oddworld. I know there were sequels to it, but Abe's Odyssey, I guess it was. And I played it on the PC back in the day. I know, PC Mustard Race. Back in the day, like 97, I got it for Christmas. And Oddworld is fantastic. Oh man, that was such a good game. I was thinking about it today. I haven't played that game in probably close to 20 years. Like, I really haven't played it in the years since. So I think I might see if that's on Steam. Or somebody mentions Good Old Games on there. Maybe, yeah, GOG. Maybe see if that's on there too. So, anyways, I mentioned all that to say one of the things I put on the Amazon wish list was an adapter so that you could plug Genesis controllers into it, and then go ahead and on the other end is the thing for the laptop, USB port, USB port on the other end. So, yeah, I was thinking of, there's a few games I want to see if I can find them on like Steam, or Good Old Games. Davis is in the chat. Davis, you can hop on here if you want. I'm not gonna bite you. Call me on the Skype there. And anyways, there's a few games I'd like to check out for for Let's Plays on here. Like I said, I'd love to do Abe's Odyssey again because that game's just great. I very rarely really get into those sort of slow-paced cinematic platformers, but Oddworld was just the lore and the presentation and the art style and all of it was just so amazing. David says, "Toss me a link." No, you got to call me on Skype. I have to call you on Skype. Anyways, but yeah, the lore in it was fantastic. I'd like to finally play the new Rocket Knight. It's from like 2010, but the reboot they did a couple years ago. Yeah, I don't have a link because it's just OBS. But yeah, I'd like to check out the new Rocket Knight, and because now that's the only one in the series I haven't played. And there's other shit like that. I don't know. Luke's played Cuphead on here before. I might do that. But I don't know. Cuphead's such a ball buster. I don't necessarily want to do a Let's Play of a game that's just gonna like turn me into fucking DSP because I'm gonna suck that bad. I'm gonna call Davis on the Skypes there. On the Skypes. As Christopher Cantwell used to say, or maybe he still does. I don't know. Oh, there we go. Hey, Davis, how's it going? Oh shit! Pardon me. Hang on. Okay. You there, Davis? Can't hear you. There you are. Well, for a second you were there. Can't hear you. Oh, wait. Hearing background noise now. And he's gone again.
Sorry, I had to mute a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh, okay, cool. He says the ear rape. I'm sorry, okay? I don't know. OBS.
I'm sorry, guys. It just got all confused. I got surgery tomorrow, so I'm drinking lots of whiskey to help thin out my blood for the surgeon.
I don't think you're supposed to do that.
Bechtloff, are you a medical doctor?
No, I can't say that I am. That was my amateur opinion. Sure.
It's easier to pull pins out of your hand if the blood is nice and watery and slick.
I don't know. I'm not a medical doctor, but I did binge watch most of the show House.
Well, it's not lupus.
Okay.
No, I'm having a glass of whiskey, but not 20. I'm joking, folks. I'm joking. And a glass of whiskey just gets me to normal.
So how you doing, man?
I just record some excellent videos. One of them will hopefully be up tomorrow morning.
Oh, cool.
Got a very good requested video. I'm feeling very positive about things.
Cool.
Okay. If you want to talk about the whole Catholic Church thing, I'm down for talking about it.
All right. Shit. What did I? Okay. I guess the first question I had was, how did I put it? You said like the priest should refuse communion. Basic. You know what? I'm not even gonna do the complicated questions. The simple questions, and I know you kind of responded in your live stream and all, but I mean, you know.
All right. Well, let me revisit the problem quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So the Pope. Listen, one of the things I've repeatedly said is that ex cathedra is a very rare thing. The Pope is allowed to say he likes communism and that he likes migrants and that he likes Depeche Mode. None of that is heresy. That's his personal opinion, right? But as soon as he's sitting ex cathedra, that's no longer his personal opinion. That's the magisterium. Assuming, of course, he is the Pope. Which I'm leaning towards the opinion he is not the Pope. Benedict is still wearing the papal white and residing in Vatican City, surrounded by the thugs of the Lavender Mafia. But, okay. So here's my question now. So the the alleged Pope Francis went and changed 2,000 years of tradition, 2,000 years of theology. He has gone from saying, like, the Catholics have always been that, yes, the death penalty is appropriate in certain circumstances. Derp. Okay? Welcome to natural law. Welcome to being a physical being on the planet. Every civilized nation in all of human history going back 5,000 years has known that the death penalty is sometimes necessary and sometimes you gotta shoot a motherfucker in war. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The Pope has now said, no, we're living with modern societies, and modern societies don't need to put people to death. Excuse me, Pope. So, how about every Catholic theologian? How about St. Augustine? Okay, how about St. Thomas Aquinas? How about, all of Catholic morality and history? How about the Bible?
In all fairness, though, wasn't the Catechism right before this basically forbidding the death penalty? I mean, if I'm reading it correctly, if you can, according to the Catechism before today, if you can lock somebody away for life, then that's what you're supposed to do. But that's basically what any, at least first world country can do. I mean, this isn't Gotham City. People don't just break out of prison regularly. So, I mean, it basically was forbidding the death penalty.
Oh, I gotta tell you something about us lawful good paladins, Bechtloff. We're really good at following the rules without following the rules. Back in my old D&D days, I never once aggressed on anybody. Not once did my paladin ever start a fight. But when I needed to start a fight, I made sure they started it. Without breaking a single moral law. We're quite good at that. So that's the thing. You know what? Human dignity. Human dignity was the core little caveat in there. And oftentimes, listen, you have greater respect for human dignity putting somebody to death than locking them in a rape cage for the next 80 years.
I actually really liked what you said about, although I kind of take it a bit further than you, about, a quick death being better and die with dignity and, don't let just somebody rot away. That's actually kind of why I support voluntary euthanasia. Because, I think not just Catholics, but my fellow Protestants, my fellow evangelicals, are very autistic about the preservation of life at all costs, without balancing that against the dignity of life. And I don't care for that. I mean, to use a Star Trek analogy, my fellow evangelicals, would try and keep that transporter accident alive as long as possible, because they are that fucking autistic. And I know a lot of the heavily pro-life Catholics are the same way. So I liked what you said about, the dignity of life.
Well, let me put it this way. I am 100% against euthanasia. Doesn't mean that I think we need to apply medical care. Applying medical care to somebody that's dying is disgusting, in my opinion. When it's time to die, it's time to die.
I don't know. I can think of some times I'd like if I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's tomorrow, and it's like, yeah, in about 6 months, Bechtloff, you're not gonna, know your ass from your elbow anymore. I mean, yeah, maybe I'll take a month or two to travel, but then I'm gonna go see what the end of my shotgun tastes like.
Well, listen, I once had a woman I was involved with. We're no longer involved, but I brought up the Alzheimer's thing. And she said that she would, even with Alzheimer's, she would still love me and would still miss me. She would treasure every moment with me, even if I couldn't remember things. And honestly, guys, if you take care of your soul, if you wash away the sin, if you clean it out a little bit, and wash your soul's testicles, as Peterson would suggest, you will not be a terrible person when you have Alzheimer's. You might be silly and confused, but you will still be you. The personality remains.
Yeah, I think I'm eating a gun. I'm not that ain't a nightmare I'm going to face.
Oh, it's not that bad. Right. And also I would point out that wandering off into the woods in the middle of winter is not committing suicide. That's just
Although,
taking a walk in the woods.
although I don't know if I'd eat a gun. I think I might go skydiving and just not pull the trigger. I'm gonna pull the. That sounds like more fun. At least have some fun with it. And I don't have to clean up the mess, so fuck it.
Well, here's the way I view it ultimately, is that our lives are not ours to decide what to do with, any more than our dog's life is theirs to decide what to do with. And it's up to God. We belong to him. He decides when we die. And oftentimes, suffering can be used to create humility in an arrogant soul. So by offering euthanasia to the arrogant, we are damning them to hell.
Well, I mean, not to get in a fight with you, but I disagree. I don't believe there is such thing as a mortal sin. So you're either saved or you're not. But again, not to get on too much of a tangent.
Well, largely, I think we agree that applying medical treatment to somebody that's just dying, it's like watching my grandmother.
I mean, even if I thought suicide was a sin, if somebody's saved, yeah, God might say, hey, you kind of fucked up at the end there a little bit, but whatever, you're saved. He might not be happy with you in that moment, but you're not gonna. I don't believe you lose your salvation.
You can. Well, it depends on the suicide. Suicide is often a fuck you to the universe. Not always, though. It can, if you take a cyanide tablet in war so that you don't rat out your... That's not suicide. That's jumping on a grenade is not suicide. Again, if you're bankrupting your family with medical expenses and you take a walk off into the wilderness in the middle of winter, that's not suicide. However, I think the hardline stance is good because when you are feeling suicidal, it's easy to rationalize suicide, that people will feel better when I'm gone. I'm such a burden on them.
Oh, I'm not, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here like, yay for suicide. I don't take the... I think it's simplistic Sunday school crap to say that life is always worth living, and I don't take that position. I think there's times when, the end of your shotgun looks pretty tasty, and who could blame you? I'm not. I don't take the I guess the hard line stance on it. But yeah, I'm not sitting here yay for suicide. If somebody's like feeling suicidal listening to this, the biggest advice I'd give you is why don't you wait a little while, because you can always do that later. That'd be the only way I could talk somebody out of it. Like if I was, suicide prevention hotline, I'm like, why don't you give it another week? Because, you can always do that later.
Yeah, I know you don't pray the rosary, but one of the prayers for the sorrowful mysteries, the final one, is I desire the grace of a final perseverance. And it says, think of the love which filled Christ's Sacred Heart during his 3 hours agony on the cross and ask him to be with you at the hour of death. And there's another one, I can't find it right now, but praying for a good, righteous death.
So, if the priest tells you that, this is the church's teaching now, either accept it or get out, so you're going to leave then?
Yep. Because I'll be honest, I'm not entirely clear on the significance of the catechism. Now listen, like if Pope Francis sat down in Peter's seat and said, yeah, Christ never came back from the dead, that didn't happen, then I would immediately say this is not the church. This stopped being the church as soon as he said that. The catechism I'm unclear on, because this is not me ignoring part of the catechism, or this is wrong. I outright reject and renounce and revile this passage, 2276, I believe it is.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Like I say that
to throw your own words in your face there, isn't that just going to lead to everybody being their own pope? I mean, you're ignoring the teaching of the church.
I'm not. I'm adhering to the teaching of the church. It's just that the church is no longer the church. It's like the God Emperor of Warhammer 40K. He's been dead for thousands of years, but he's still the God Emperor. We got Christian in the comments going that the Pope is effectively in heresy. Exactly. And I guess this is the question. The Pope is in heresy right now. And we're not talking about him saying, oh, I don't mind gays. This isn't me saying, oh, I don't think masturbation's that bad. Right? This is black and white, no gray. The Pope is an outright heresy right now. I'm not in heresy. I'm adhering to 2,000 years of tradition and teachings and scripture. I am in full alignment with that.
I noticed that was last in the list. I'm sorry, I'm just busting your balls a little bit.
Well, I'm not smart enough to interpret scripture. I'm not smart enough to interpret scripture. I go and read the experts when I want to understand it better. Same thing. I'm not going to invent science from the ground up, right? Like, I'm a pretty smart guy. Not to toot my own horn, I actually kind of invented a form of calculus in high school to answer a question that I didn't even need to do that. Not full calculus, but I kind of reverse engineered a little bit of calculus. And I hadn't taken calculus yet. I had no idea what it was. So, like, I'm a pretty freaking smart guy, but most of the time, I don't have time to figure out how everything works. If I want to understand the theology, I'll go read Aquinas, I'll go read Augustine, or generally speaking, since I don't have enough time, I'll just pull out the catechism and see what that says. But right now, the catechism has been perverted to be an outright heretical document. It is an anti-Christian document at this point. So I need to clarify that with my priest. Like, this is not me ignoring the bit on masturbation. This is me saying, this is wrong, I renounce and revile it. Does this mean that I'm not welcome in the church? And if I'm not, then it's not the church. Like, if the catechism comes out tomorrow and says you need to suck a dick before you take communion, guess what I'm not doing? If everybody else taking communion is sucking an AIDS dick before taking the body and blood of Christ into them.
Well, yeah, because once they tell you to do it, it's not fun anymore, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, that's the worst thing with you Protestants. You made, like, everything licit, so now it's no fun sinning. Catholics are better sinners. I just realized that picture of me as the Canadian maple leaf is the avatar for my Discord. I didn't even know where that came from. Did you make that up?
No, I stole that meme off your Discord.
Oh.
I had one of Forney, and I figured you're on here regularly a lot too, so I should have one of you. So I stole the leaf one.
Okay, well, guys, I am actually putting some effort into the Discord these days, and the link on my videos is finally a permanent link. I didn't know how to do that because I'm a retard. So I fixed that. So, guys, I'm not saying it's the most exciting Discord in the world, but maybe go check it out.
My Discord's pretty awesome, though.
It doesn't have as much nudity as what's that? Women on Topic or whatever. It's Awoo on Topic right now with a whole bunch of weird ASCII symbols. I don't know.
Oh, that one's straight up not safe for work. Like, I at least have the channels that aren't safe for work marked, so you're not gonna, if you're dicking off at work and you check it, you're not gonna have, like, your boss walk by where there's titties in there or something. Because there's a redhead not safe for work channel, and we post tasteful nudes on there.
Glon is commenting that St. Thomas Aquinas did not believe in the sinless Mary.
Tom was talking about that earlier today on one of his streams.
You know, there's very large divisions over what you're required to believe and what is mere opinion. And there's even stuff the church is like, yeah, we don't know. Shroud of Turin, for example. I'm utterly convinced it is the burial shroud, but you're not required to believe that. The church has no opinion on that. So there is a lot of gray areas. Actually, oh God, Bechtloff, did you see that argument I got into with a Catholic that blocked me yesterday?
No, what was it on?
Well, I posted all of the names of the Sky Father from the old Indo-European myths.
Mm-hmm.
And he got very upset with me for calling out the names of demons. I'm like, dude, Tyr was not a demon. Okay, like I almost became the paladin of Tyr, except my hand hasn't fallen off. Tyr, for the record, he helped restrain. He sacrificed his hand to restrain Fenris, and he was the god of justice and warfare. So yeah, that whole dogfight, I almost became like a paladin of Tyr in the process, or maybe I am. I don't know. But like understanding these old Indo-European myths is not heresy. The church preserved the myth of Beowulf, and Beowulf is pure, unadulterated Indo-European creation myth. It's like getting all autistic about the fact that Harry Potter uses magic while completely ignoring the fact that it's a story about narcissistic single mothers.
Well, I've always said, and just broadly the Christian church, that it doesn't, and I mean it hasn't been perfect in this, but it doesn't come in and destroy a culture and knock it down and build something up. That's what Islam does. No, it Christianizes a culture. That's part of why, people always point to, did you know the Christmas tree was actually a pagan dramatic thing? And I'm like, yeah, big fucking deal. Now
yeah, and Easter comes from the fertility goddess.
It's like, yeah, it was. Now it's not. I often use the point. I'm like, if you could imagine two possible futures 100 years from now, one in which Japan has become Muslim and one in which Japan has become Christian. In the Christian one, it would still be very distinctly Japanese. In the Muslim future, it would not. They might still be ethnically Japanese, but culturally, their culture would be erased.
Well, not to go all 30 years war, but one of the things I like about the Catholic Church is that there are many churches within the Catholic Church. I'm RCC. There's also I've been to a Maronite church, which is, dude, the Mass in Arabic is absolutely beautiful. You got to experience it sometime. There's the Mexican church, which is not the same as, there's all these divisions within it to recognize the diversity of peoples on the planet. It's the same gospel, it's the same savior, but the flavor. I mean, like, all food is nutritious, but Japanese food is not the same thing as Mexican food. And, here's another thing. A couple of years ago, I got into some big-time Old Testament scholarship. You know that each country has its own angel? And this is straight from the Old Testament. Okay, like there's actually one point where, like, I forget what this is, so just bear with me, but one of the guys encounters an angel, and the angel explains to them that it took him a while to get there because he was fighting with the powers of the next nation over.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with where that is in the Old Testament.
It's what was I reading about? I was reading, I think it's Solomon's father that ran into that. Anyway, my point being is that when I look at the Indo-European mythology, I do not see vileness. I do not see Baal demanding the blood of infants. I see great nobility.
Yeah, I'd agree with that in a lot of the pagan mythologies.
I don't see, like, we have Tyr, this god of justice, that restrained Fenris and sacrificed his own hand, so that the wolf of the apocalypse could be tied down.
Vox,
Sounds like a demon to me.
Vox Day had an interesting post where he talked about the three forms of false gods, as it were, and he lumped them into three categories. Where he said one is basically a demon pretending to be a god. I would even broaden that category to just a real entity, because who knows all of what goes on out there. And the other category he said is basically the ones we made up, and I think a lot of the a lot, especially the European pantheons, are probably that, because they do just have the epic mythology where it just feels like men were just trying to work through how the universe worked and came up with this kind of stuff. And the third he put was the purely metaphorical false god idol, where it's, you've just made an idol out of something like money, sex, power, whatever. And I always thought that, I think it was like 10 years ago I read that from Vox, but it always stuck with me.
Glon comments that Constantine thought that Achilles was a forerunner of Christ. That's interesting. There's this weird idea. Well, it's not that weird. You have to be really careful what you open yourself up to. Really, really careful, because it's like anything else in life. John Steele sent me a book, which apparently he sent it to me by mistake, but it was because I asked him, why'd you help? Like, this is a good book. Why'd you send it to me? It was talking about having, like, you need a semi-permeable barrier around yourself. Like, you can't be letting anybody come in and bully you. And you also can't be taking responsibility for choices other people make. That's outside of your control. At the same time, you can't be completely closed off to the world, right? You need to interact with the world. And so, yeah, anytime you look at evil, I remember the first time I ran into the cuckold fetish. Yeah, I wrote an article about that. I was traumatized, man. It really, really messed with me. This was years before the cuck thing became a meme. It was just so ugly. And it really, like, when you stare into the abyss, it stares back. But if you never stare into the abyss, how are you going to become as wise as a serpent?
Yeah, it was bug chasing was the first one. Was the one where when I first heard about it, it was like, oh my god, like, holy shit. It just like, no pun intended, bugged me for like 3 days.
Yeah, you get a spiritual hangover from it. Watching what's that movie? What's that movie about all the addiction? Requiem for a Dream. That movie leaves you feeling sick afterwards. Believe me, my kids are going to watch that. That's why they won't be drug addicts. So you got to be careful. Like, you can't open yourself up to everything. All right, because then the demons get in. But if you remain completely closed and naive and stupid, it's like, okay, the demons aren't getting in, but you're also blind to what's going on in the world. And Christ said, as innocent as doves, but as wise as serpents. Which is a complete contradiction. And yet that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for wisdom without sin. Which, good luck being wise without sinning. So yeah, this idea that, I'm going to that all I need is Jesus. Well, yeah, that's all you need. You don't need to learn that there's other spirits in this creation. You don't need to understand evil and temptation. You don't need it. All you need is Jesus. I'm pretty sure all the Down syndrome kids go to heaven. But if you don't learn, then you're going to be useless. So I know, if that makes me a terrible, heretical, semi-pagan, then, well, I guess that's what I am. space dog wants outside.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Davis, I want to thank you for being on. I know you and I have been butting heads lately on these things, but I still love you. So.
Oh yeah, it's like I just don't want to. I don't find 30 years war to be productive. It's when it's like you want to argue and argue, and it's like we're not going anywhere. So I want to build.
I don't know. I just want to have fun, and I find the autistic debates pretty enjoyable. And I want to be bringing in them ducats too, and people seem to like it for them ducats. So
it was a good debate. I need to keep that to a minimum, because I'm one of those guys. Oh shit, somebody's wrong on the internet. Wait up, honey. I need to fucking show you the wrong.
I thought you did great. I mean, I was a little worried that it was kind of unfair putting a lay person against Pastor Tom, because I mean, the guy does do that for a living. Like, I wouldn't want to argue Pastor Tom on some shit. I'd spend a good week preparing for that, and still expect to get my shit pushed in, because I mean he can quote mine you for days, or not quote mine.
Quote the Bible at you.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like I said, I have the captain's guest starring tonight, and it is late. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Folks, if you enjoy the show, consider checking out the tip jar down below. It's the PayPal, Patreon, Amazon wishlist, all that good stuff. And that's all I got for tonight, folks. I want to thank you all for listening. Bechtloff out.